At my 75th birthday party, my grandson stood up to make a speech. To Grandma, who's had a great run. 75 years is a good innings. Time to think about the finish line. Everyone laughed nervously. He continued, seriously though, Grandma, have you thought about what happens to your stuff? Because I've got my eye on that vintage car in your garage. My late husband's 1967 Mustang, restored together over 10 years. My grandson raised his glass. Just saying, I'm a car guy, it should go to me, his mother, my daughter added, and I want the jewelry. The good stuff, not the costume pieces. They were dividing up my belongings at my birthday party. While I was still alive and healthy, I stood up, didn't say a word, walked to my garage, started the Mustang, drove away from my own birthday party, drove straight to a classic car auction house. Consigned the car, sold it for $85,000, donated every penny to a youth automotive program. My grandson called when he found out. You sold my car? I said, I sold my car. You'll never own it now. Spent the rest of my birthday at a spa. Best birthday gift I ever gave myself. Before we continue, this fictionalized case study is based on documented cases of family members treating elderly relatives as obstacles to inheritance rather than as living people deserving respect. According to estate planning attorneys, approximately 40% of family disputes over estates begin while the elderly person is still alive, often involving premature discussions of inheritance that treat the living person as already deceased. This examines your legal right to dispose of your property as you wish, how to recognize when family values your possessions more than your life, and how to protect yourself through estate planning. Now let me tell my story. It was a beautiful Saturday afternoon in Detroit, and I was turning 75 years old. My house was full of people, about 40 guests including family, friends from church, neighbors I'd known for decades. The dining room table was covered with food. There was a beautiful cake with 75 candles that we joked about being a fire hazard. I was having a wonderful time. I'm Diane Carter, and at 75, I was healthy, active, and sharp. I'd retired from my career as an auto mechanic 5 years ago. My late husband James had died 3 years ago, but I was managing well, living independently in the house we'd shared for 40 years. I felt good about my life, about turning 75, about being surrounded by people I loved. That feeling lasted about another 10 minutes. After we'd finished the cake, my grandson Tyler stood up with a champagne glass in his hand. Tyler was 32, worked in sales, always had a cocky confidence about him that sometimes crossed into arrogance. I'd like to make a toast to my grandmother, he announced. Everyone quieted down, smiling. I smiled too, expecting something sweet. To Grandma, who's had a great run. 75 years, that's a good innings. There was a pause, some nervous laughter. Then Tyler continued, his voice loud and cheerful. Time to start thinking about the finish line? My smile froze on my face. The room got very quiet. I saw several guests shift uncomfortably. My best friend Margaret's mouth had fallen open, but Tyler wasn't done. Seriously though, Grandma, have you thought about what happens to your stuff when you're gone? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Because I've got my eye on that vintage car in your garage. He was talking about the 1967 Mustang. The candy apple red beauty that James and I had restored together over 10 years. The car James had left to me when he died. My most precious possession. The thing that connected me most closely to my late husband. Tyler raised his glass higher. Just saying, I'm a car guy. That Mustang should go to me. I'll take good care of it. Before I could process this, before I could respond, my daughter Patricia stood up. Patricia was 55, Tyler's mother, and apparently she thought this was an appropriate time to stake her claim too. And Mom, I want the jewelry. The good stuff, not the costume pieces. She was actually pointing at me, at my neck where I wore my pearl necklace. Your engagement ring, the diamond earrings, all of it, I should have those. I sat there, stunned, as my family divided up my belongings. At my 75th birthday party. While I was sitting right there, alive, healthy, planning to live for many more years, and they were talking about my death like it was a business transaction they needed to plan for. Tyler was still going. We should really sit down and go through everything, Grandma. Make a list of who gets what. Be organized about it. Patricia nodded enthusiastically. Yes, we need to be fair about the distribution. No fighting later. I looked around the room. Most of my guests were staring at their plates, clearly uncomfortable but not saying anything. Margaret looked horrified, but she wasn't speaking up either. Nobody was stopping this. Nobody was telling Tyler and Patricia that this was inappropriate, cruel, unacceptable. I stood up. Everyone looked at me, probably expecting me to make a speech, to laugh it off. To go along with this grotesque display, I didn't say a word. I walked through my house, through the kitchen, to the door that led to my garage. "Mom," Patricia called after me. "Where are you going?" I didn't answer. I opened the garage door and stood there for a moment, looking at the Mustang. It was beautiful. James and I had bought it as a rusted wreck in 2005. We'd spent every weekend for 10 years restoring it, rebuilding the engine, replacing the interior, repainting it that perfect candy apple red. James had died in 2021, just after we'd finished. He'd left the car to me in his will. I drove it every week, kept it maintained. It was my connection to him, to all those weekends we'd spent together with grease on our hands and dreams of seeing it finished. And Tyler thought it should be his. Because I was 75 and had reached my finish line. I got in the car, started the engine. The powerful rumble filled the garage. I hit the garage door opener and backed out. Through the open garage door, I could see faces in my living room window, watching me, confused. Patricia ran out onto the driveway. "Mom, where are you going? It's your party." I looked at her through the car window, didn't say anything, and I drove away from my own 75th birthday party. I drove through Detroit, hands gripping the steering wheel, fury building with every mile. Tyler's words kept echoing in my head. "Time to think about the finish line." Patricia's voice. "I want the jewelry, the good stuff." They were dividing up my possessions like I was already dead. Like my life was over and all that mattered was what they could take from me. I kept driving, not sure where I was going. Just away from that party. Away from being treated like an inheritance instead of a person. Then I knew exactly where I needed to go. Classic Motors Auction House was on the east side of Detroit. James and I used to go there for the car shows. We'd walk through, admiring the vintage cars, dreaming about the day our Mustang would be finished and we could show it off. I pulled into the parking lot. It was Saturday afternoon and they were open. I walked in and the manager recognized me immediately. "Diane, I haven't seen you in, 2 years? How are you? How's the Mustang?" Michael was in his 60s, a black man who'd been in the classic car business for decades. He'd known James and me for years. "The Mustang is perfect," I said, "and I want to consign it for auction." Michael's smile faded. "Sell the Mustang? Diane, are you sure?" "Completely sure. How soon can you auction it?" "We have an auction next Saturday." Classic American muscle cars are really hot right now. That Mustang in that condition? I think you could get 75,000, maybe 80. "Perfect. Let's do it." Michael looked concerned. "Diane, that was James's car. You two spent years restoring it." "Are you certain about this?" "It's my car now. And yes, I'm certain." We sat down and did the paperwork. Consignment agreement, reserve price, auction date. When we finished, I drove the Mustang home one last time. The party was winding down when I got back. Most people had left. A few stragglers were still there. Patricia was in the kitchen, putting food away. She looked up when I walked in. "Mom, what was that about? You embarrassed us?" I stared at her. "I embarrassed you? Running off like that in the middle of your own party. Your son just stood up at my 75th birthday party and told me to think about my finish line. Then he claimed my car, while I'm still alive. He was joking? No, he wasn't. And neither were you when you claimed my jewelry, all of it, the good stuff." Patricia had the decency to look slightly uncomfortable. "Mom, we're just trying to be practical. These things need to be discussed, not at my birthday party. Not while I'm healthy and planning to live for many more years. You're being dramatic. I'll show you dramatic." After everyone finally left, I sat in my quiet house and thought about what had just happened. And I realized, this wasn't the first time Tyler and Patricia had acted entitled to my possessions. 6 months ago, Tyler had come over and walked through my house, looking around with an appraising eye. "Grandma, this neighborhood is really gentrifying. Houses are selling for crazy money. Yours could probably get $300,000. You don't need all this space anymore." At the time, I'd brushed it off. Now I saw it differently. He was calculating the value of my house, planning for when it would be his. Last year, I'd caught Patricia going through my jewelry box. "Just looking, Mom. Do you ever wear these pieces anymore? Maybe I should hold on to some of them for safekeeping." Safekeeping. Right. 2 years ago, Tyler had asked about my retirement accounts. "Grandma, have you thought about who's listed as the beneficiary on your 401k? Just want to make sure everything's in order. You know, for when the time comes." I was 73 at the time, in perfect health. And he was already planning for when the time comes. Last month, Patricia had started pushing me to downsize. "Mom, you're 75 now. Don't you think it's time to move to a smaller place, maybe a nice senior apartment? I could help you sell the house. Get you somewhere more manageable." All of it framed as concern, as helping, but it wasn't about me, it was about them. They were cataloging my assets, calculating values, planning their inheritance, waiting for me to die, and today, Tyler had made it explicit. Time to think about the finish line. Translation: time for you to die so we can have your stuff. I sat in my living room, in the house I'd lived in for 40 years, and realized something painful. My daughter and grandson didn't see me as a person they loved. They saw me as an obstacle between them and money, an inheritance waiting to happen. Well, they were about to learn that I was very much alive, and I had plans for my possessions that didn't include them. The following Saturday, I went to the auction. I'd spent the week driving the Mustang for the last time, every trip to the grocery store to church to visit Margaret. Saying goodbye, it hurt. That car was my connection to James. Every time I drove it, I felt close to him, but I'd made my decision. The auction house was packed. Classic car enthusiasts filled the seats, ready to bid. The Mustang was lot number 23. When they rolled it out onto the auction floor, people gasped. It was showroom perfect. The candy apple red paint gleamed under the lights. The auctioneer began his description. 1967 Ford Mustang, fully restored to original specifications. Rebuilt original engine. New interior. All documentation included. This is a museum-quality restoration, folks. The bidding started at $40,000. It climbed quickly. $50,000. $60,000. $70,000. 2 bidders were really fighting for it. A collector from Chicago and someone from Ohio. The Chicago collector won. Sold for $85,000. The gavel came down. I felt a lump in my throat. The Mustang was gone, but also satisfaction. Deep, profound satisfaction. Tyler would never get it. Never sit in the driver's seat that James and I had roof-ulstered together. Never drive the car he'd already claimed as his own. I signed the paperwork and received a certified check for $85,000. As I drove home in my regular car, a sensible 2019 Honda, my phone rang. "Tyler," I almost didn't answer, but I wanted to hear this. "Hello, Grandma, where's the Mustang? I just stopped by your house and the garage is empty." "I sold it." "You what?" "I sold it. At auction. For $85,000. Silence. "Then, you sold my car?" "I sold my car. It was mine. I could do whatever I wanted with it. But you knew I wanted it. You were supposed to leave it to me." "Tyler, you're 32 years old. I'm 75 and in excellent health. I could easily live another 15 or 20 years. You weren't supposed to get anything because I'm not dead." "This is insane. You, Mom." I heard him calling to Patricia in the background. Then Patricia got on the phone. "Mother, what did you do?" "I sold my car." "Tyler says you got $85,000 for it. What are you going to do with that money?" "That's none of your business, Patricia. None of my, you can't just..." I hung up. I sat in my driveway for a long time, holding that check for $85,000. I could keep it, invest it, spend it on myself, but I had a better idea. I went inside and started researching youth automotive programs in Detroit. I found exactly what I was looking for: Detroit Youth Garage. It was a nonprofit that taught underserved teenagers automotive mechanics. gave them skills, confidence, a path to good careers. Exactly the kind of program I wished had existed when I was a young black woman trying to break into auto mechanics in the 1970s. Monday morning, I called them. Detroit Youth Garage, how can I help you? I'd like to make a donation. That's wonderful. What amount were you thinking? $85,000. Silence on the other end. I'm sorry, did you say $85,000? Yes, I just sold my late husband's vintage car. I want the money to go toward teaching young people about automotive work. The director's voice was shaky with emotion. Ma'am, that's incredibly generous. That amount could fund full scholarships for 20 students, maybe more. That sounds perfect. We set up the donation. I wanted it named the James and Diane Carter Memorial Scholarship Fund. I signed over the check right there at their office. The director, a young black woman named Keisha, actually had tears in her eyes. Mrs. Carter, you have no idea what this means. We have a waiting list of kids who want to learn but can't afford the program. You just changed 20 lives. I felt something I hadn't felt since James died. Pure joy. The Mustang wasn't gathering dust in my garage, waiting for Tyler to inherit it and probably sell it immediately for cash. It was teaching kids, giving them opportunities, carrying on James's legacy in a way that actually mattered. James would have loved this. I drove home feeling lighter than I had in years. 2 days later, I posted on Facebook. Honored to donate $85,000 to Detroit Youth Garage in memory of my late husband James. His beautifully restored 1967 Mustang lives on by teaching the next generation of mechanics. Exactly what James would have wanted. I included a photo of me at Youth Garage standing with Keisha and some of the students. Within an hour, Tyler called. He was screaming, actually screaming. You donated my inheritance? I donated my money from my car. That was supposed to be mine. You promised? I never promised you anything, Tyler. You stood up at my birthday party and claimed my car without asking. That's not how gifts work. Grandma, how could you do this to me? How could you stand up at my 75th birthday party and talk about my finish line like you're just waiting for me to die? I was joking. No, you weren't. You meant every word. And so did your mother when she claimed all my jewelry. This is theft. That's family money. There's no such thing as family money while I'm alive, Tyler. Everything I own is mine to dispose of however I want. Family takes care of family? Exactly. And family doesn't treat living relatives like inconvenient obstacles to inheritance. He hung up on me. 10 minutes later, Patricia called. Mom, Tyler is absolutely devastated. How could you do this to him? How could I sell my own property and donate my own money to a worthy cause? You know he wanted that car. He's been talking about it for years. And I wanted my 75th birthday party to celebrate my life, not to divide up my possessions like I'm already dead. We don't always get what we want. You're being spiteful and vindictive. I'm being clear about boundaries. My possessions are mine, not yours, not Tyler's, mine to do with as I please. What about the jewelry? Are you going to sell that too just to spite me? I haven't decided yet what I'll do with the jewelry, but I can guarantee you won't be getting it. Mom, I hung up on her too. The next day, I called my estate attorney, Marcus Williams. Marcus was a black man in his late 60s who'd handled James's estate when he died. I trusted him completely. Marcus, I need to update my will. Immediately. What changes would you like to make, Diane? I want to remove Tyler completely, and I want to significantly reduce Patricia's share. I explained what had happened at my birthday party, Tyler's toast, Patricia's claim on my jewelry, the whole humiliating scene. Marcus listened quietly. When I finished, he said, Diane, that's appalling. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I want to make sure they don't benefit from treating me like I'm already dead. I understand completely. Let me draft the changes. A week later, I was back in Marcus's office reviewing the new will. Tyler was explicitly excluded with clear language. My grandson Tyler Reed is excluded from any inheritance under this will. This exclusion is intentional and based on his public statements at my 75th birthday party, indicating he views my death as an opportunity for financial gain rather than valuing my life and our relationship. Patricia's inheritance was reduced from 60% to 15%. The remaining 85% was divided among Detroit Youth Garage, 40% my best friend Margaret, 20% my church, 15% my cousin Andrea who actually cared about me, 10% this sends a very clear message, Marcus said. Good. That's exactly what I want. I also updated all my beneficiary designations, retirement accounts, life insurance, bank accounts, everything that had listed Tyler or Patricia was changed. New beneficiaries, people and organizations that valued me while I was alive. One more thing, I said. I want to include a letter with the will, an explanation. You can absolutely do that. I wrote it out right there. Asterisk to my daughter Patricia and grandson Tyler, at my 75th birthday party, you made it devastatingly clear that you value my possessions more than my life. Tyler spoke publicly about my finish line and claimed my car before I was even cold in the ground. Patricia immediately claimed all my jewelry. You treated me like an inheritance, not a person, like an obstacle between you and money. I have spent my remaining years ensuring you receive nothing from my estate. The people and organizations named in my will are here because they value me while I'm alive. They see me as a person, not a bank account. That's the difference between them and you. You will get nothing because you deserve nothing. Signed, Diane Carter, **** Marcus read it and nodded. This is very clear, very powerful, and completely legally sound. Perfect. After I left Marcus's office, I realized something. I'd never finished celebrating my 75th birthday. Tyler had ruined it with his grotesque toast. I'd left my own party. I decided I deserved a proper celebration. I booked an appointment at a luxury spa in Birmingham, one of those places where they pamper you for an entire day. Saturday afternoon, I walked into the spa. The receptionist smiled at me. "Miss Carter, welcome. Are we celebrating anything special today?" My 75th birthday. "I'm doing it over, getting it right this time." "Oh, how wonderful, we'll make it very special." And they did. I had a 90-minute massage. The therapist asked, "Any areas of particular tension?" "Just my family," I said, "but I'm working on that." Then a facial. The esthetician was chatty, asking about my week. I told her the whole story. The birthday party, Tyler's toast, selling the car, the donation. "You're my hero," she said seriously. "I hope I'm as badass as you when I'm 75. I had a manicure and pedicure. They served me champagne and gourmet chocolates. For lunch, they brought me grilled salmon and champagne in a private relaxation room. I sat there, feeling completely pampered and peaceful and thought, this is how birthdays should be, celebrating life, not planning for death, honoring the person, not cataloging their possessions. By the time I left the spa that evening, I felt renewed, powerful, clear. I wasn't dying anytime soon. I was 75 and in excellent health. I could easily live another 15 or 20 years. And when I did eventually die, Tyler and Patricia wouldn't benefit from it. Best birthday gift I'd ever given myself. 6 months passed. Tyler and Patricia were still furious. Neither of them was speaking to me. I was completely fine with that. My life without their entitled presence was actually wonderful. I joined a classic car club. I drove my Honda to the meetings and told everyone the story of the Mustang. They were universally supportive of what I'd done. I started volunteering at Detroit Youth Garage twice a week, teaching basic mechanics to teenagers. It was incredibly fulfilling. These kids were hungry to learn, appreciative of every lesson. I traveled, went to Nashville to visit an old friend. Spent a week in New Orleans, took a road trip to Chicago. I spent time with people who actually valued me as a person. My church community, my neighbor Margaret, who'd been my best friend for 30 years, my cousin Andrea. One afternoon, Margaret and I were having coffee at my house. "How do you feel about not talking to Patricia and Tyler?" she asked. "Relieved. I don't miss being treated like an inheritance instead of a person. Do you think they'll come around? Only if they think there's still money to get, which there isn't." A week later, Tyler sent me a text. "Grandma, I'm sorry about the birthday thing. Can we talk?" I responded. "About what?" "I miss you. I was hoping we could spend time together." "Why now, Tyler?" After 6 months of silence, he didn't respond. A few days later, Patricia called. "Mom, Tyler really is sorry. He misses you." What does he miss, Patricia, me, or what he thought he'd inherit? That's not fair. What's not fair is being treated like I'm already dead at my own birthday party. He's young. He was thoughtless. Can't you forgive him? I can forgive him. But that doesn't mean I want a relationship with him, and it definitely doesn't mean I'm leaving him anything in my will. She hung up on me. 1 year after my disastrous 75th birthday party, I turned 76. This time, I had a small gathering. Just the people who actually cared about me. Margaret, my church friends, my cousin Andrea, and several of the teenagers from Youth Garage who wanted to celebrate with me. No Tyler. No Patricia. Someone asked, "Don't you miss your family?" I thought about it honestly. I miss the family I thought I had, the daughter and grandson who loved me for me, but I don't miss the reality of who they actually are. This birthday was everything the last one should have been. People celebrated me, my life, my health, my accomplishments, not my possessions, not what they'd get when I died. Just me. It was perfect. After everyone left, I reflected on the year. I'd taught mechanics to 15 teenagers at Youth Garage, traveled to 4 cities, made new friends. Strengthened bonds with old ones. I'd sold several items I'd been holding onto and donated the money to causes I cared about. Most importantly, I'd stopped letting entitled family members make me feel guilty for protecting myself. Patricia sent me a birthday card. "Mom, happy birthday. I hope we can reconcile. I miss you." I didn't respond. Tyler sent nothing, telling. A few months after my 76th birthday, I made a decision about the jewelry. Patricia had publicly claimed it at my 75th birthday party. I want the jewelry, the good stuff. I took inventory of what I had: my engagement ring from James, a beautiful 2-carat diamond. Diamond earrings he'd given me for our 30th anniversary. A pearl necklace that had belonged to James's mother, passed to me when she died. A gold bracelet from my grandmother. Various other pieces. Total value maybe $35,000. Patricia expected to inherit all of it. I decided she'd get none of it. I took everything to a professional appraiser and got detailed valuations. Then I made my plan. The engagement ring went to my cousin Andrea's daughter, who was getting married. A young woman who would appreciate the love story behind it. The diamond earrings I donated to a women's shelter fundraiser auction. The pearl necklace I gave to Margaret, my best friend who'd stood by me through everything. The gold bracelet I donated to the Detroit Historical Museum for their collection on African American families in the city. It would preserve my family history without giving it to Patricia. The remaining pieces I sold and donated the money to Youth Garage. Patricia found out through the family grapevine about a month later. She called, absolutely furious. "You gave away my jewelry?" "I gave away my jewelry, Patricia. Those pieces were supposed to be mine. You promised." "I never promised you anything. You claimed my jewelry at my birthday party without asking me." "That's not how gifts work. You're doing this to spite me?" "I'm doing this because you made it clear you only value my possessions, not me as a person. So the possessions are going to people who actually value me." "You're 76 years old. You can't just, I can do whatever I want with my own property. That's exactly how ownership works." She hung up. I didn't hear from her for months after that. 2 years after the birthday incident, Tyler reached out via email. It was a long message. He apologized, explained he'd been immature and selfish, said he'd been in therapy working on himself. "I realize now how hurtful I was, Grandma. The birthday toast, claiming your car, it was awful. I'm so sorry. I've grown up a lot. I don't care about inheritance anymore. I just want to have a relationship with you." I was skeptical, but I agreed to meet him. We met at a coffee shop, neutral territory. Tyler showed up looking genuinely remorseful. "Grandma, I was a selfish jerk." "There's no excuse for how I treated you." "No, there isn't. I've been in therapy for the past year. My girlfriend, well, ex-girlfriend now, broke up with me. She said I was entitled and selfish. It made me look hard at my behavior. We talked for over an hour. He seemed sincere. He didn't mention money, inheritance, or possessions once. "I don't expect you to change your will or anything," he said. "I just want to spend time with you, get to know you, make up for lost time." We'll see, I said cautiously. Over the following months, Tyler and I met regularly for coffee. He never brought up money, never asked about my plans for my estate, just talked about his life, asked about mine, seemed genuinely interested. After 6 months of regular contact, Margaret asked me, "Are you going to put Tyler back in your will?" No. Even if he's really changed? Maybe he has changed. But the will stays as it is. If he's truly changed, he won't care about the inheritance. He'll value the relationship for its own sake. And if he's faking the change, then the will protects me. Today, I'm 78 years old. 3 years have passed since that awful birthday party. I'm still healthy, still active, still living my life on my terms. Tyler and I still meet regularly. He's never once mentioned inheritance or money. His change might be genuine. Time will tell. But my will remains unchanged. He's still excluded. If he's truly changed, that won't matter to him. The relationship will be enough. Patricia has tried to reconcile a few times, but she still makes comments about my things. "Mom, what are you planning to do with the house when you eventually downsize?" "I'm not downsizing. I'm living here. Our relationship remains distant. My life at 78 is full. I volunteer at Detroit Youth Garage twice a week. Those kids are learning skills that will serve them for life. The James and Diane Carter Memorial Scholarship Fund has helped 23 students so far. I travel regularly. I've been to 6 cities in the past year. I have close friendships with people who value me as a person, not a bank account. I'm active in my church community. My will is updated and secure. Most of my estate goes to Youth Garage and people who cared about me while I was alive. I have 0 regrets about selling the Mustang or giving away the jewelry. One afternoon, I'm at Youth Garage teaching a class on brake systems. A young student asks, "Miss Carter, why do you volunteer here?" "Because 3 years ago, I sold my late husband's vintage Mustang and donated $85,000 to this program. Best decision I ever made." "Why'd you sell it?" "My grandson thought it should belong to him, while I was still alive and enjoying it. So I made sure he'd never get it." The kid grins. "That's cold." "No, that's boundaries. He saw me as an obstacle to inheritance, not as a person. I taught him different." That evening, I'm home looking through old photos. There's one of James and me standing next to the Mustang just after we'd finished the restoration. We're both grinning, covered in grease stains, proud of what we'd built together. I miss the car sometimes, miss that connection to James, but I don't regret selling it. Tyler never got it. Instead, 23 kids learned skills that changed their lives. That's a much better legacy. I pull out my will and review it one more time. Tyler is still explicitly excluded with clear language explaining why. Patricia gets a minimal amount, 15%. Most of my estate goes to Detroit Youth Garage, Margaret, my church, and my cousin Andrea. People and organizations that valued me while I was alive. It feels right. No change is needed. I learned 3 critical lessons from what happened at my 75th birthday party. Lessons that might help someone else facing family members who value possessions more than people. First, I learned the warning signs that family members value your possessions more than your life. Looking back, Tyler and Patricia had been showing these signs for years. I just hadn't wanted to see them. The premature inheritance discussions started subtly. Tyler casually mentioning my house's value. Patricia just looking at my jewelry. Tyler asking about beneficiaries on my retirement accounts. All of it framed as concern or helpfulness. "Just want to make sure everything's in order, Grandma." But it wasn't concern. It was cataloging. They were making a mental inventory of my assets and planning who would get what. According to estate planning attorneys, these are major warning signs: adult children or grandchildren asking about the value of your possessions. "How much is this house worth? What about that car?" They're calculating, not curious. Premature discussions about inheritance. If you're healthy and there's no immediate need to discuss estate planning, but they keep bringing it up, that's a red flag. Comments about you being too old for certain possessions. "You don't need all this space. Do you really drive that car anymore?" They're preparing arguments for why you should give things up, cataloging behavior. Going through your jewelry box, asking about specific items, making mental notes of valuables. They are inventory tracking. Talking about your death as a financial event rather than a loss. Tyler's finish line comment made this explicit. My death was an opportunity for him, not a tragedy. Suggesting you organize who gets what. We should make a list. Translation: we want to claim things now before you can change your mind. Treating your assets as family money rather than your money. Tyler actually said the donation was theft of family money. There's no such thing. While you're alive, your assets belong to you. If you see these patterns, take action, document the behavior. Write down comments and dates. Update your will to reflect how you actually want to distribute assets. Consider selling or gifting valuable items to people who value you, not your stuff. Set clear boundaries. We will not discuss my estate while I'm alive and healthy. Don't be afraid to exclude people who treat you like an inheritance. Second, I learned your absolute right to dispose of your property however you want while you're alive. When Tyler called screaming, "You sold my car," I realized he truly believed he had some claim to my property while I was still alive. He didn't. Neither did Patricia when she claimed my jewelry. Here's what I learned from my attorney Marcus about property rights. While you're alive and competent, you have absolute control over your property. No one else has any legal claim to it. Not your children, not your grandchildren. No one. Promises of inheritance are generally not legally binding. Even if you've told someone you'll get the car when I die, you can change your mind. It's your property until the moment you die. You can sell, gift, or donate anything you own for any reason. You don't need your family's permission. You don't need to justify your choices. Adult children have no legal entitlement to inherit. Unlike minor children who may have certain rights to support, adult children are legally entitled to nothing from your estate. You can exclude anyone from your will for any reason, or no reason. It's your money and your choice. Selling assets before death to prevent entitled family from getting them is completely legal. Some people think this is spite or vindictive. It's neither. It's your right to dispose of your property. The auction house confirmed this when I consigned the Mustang. It's your car, Diane. You can sell it whenever you want for whatever reason you want. Marcus confirmed it when I updated my will. You have every right to exclude Tyler and reduce Patricia's share. You don't even need to explain why, though I recommend you do for legal clarity. This knowledge is empowering. Your property is yours until you die or legally transfer ownership. No one is entitled to inherit from you. You can change your will as many times as you want. You can sell everything and spend the money on yourself if you choose. You can donate your entire estate to organizations instead of family. You owe your adult children nothing. Inheritance is a gift, not a right. Third, I learned how to respond when family treats you as an inheritance rather than a person. Tyler's toast at my birthday party was a turning point. It made explicit what had been implicit for years. He saw me as an obstacle to money, not as his grandmother. Here's what I did and what I recommend: immediately protect your assets. I sold the Mustang within a week. I gave away the jewelry within a year. I updated my will immediately. Don't wait. Donate or gift items to people/organizations that value you. The $85,000 from the Mustang went to kids who needed skills, not to Tyler who just wanted a trophy. Much better use. Update your will with explicit exclusions and explanations. Marcus helped me write clear language about why Tyler was excluded. This prevents will contests claiming I forgot him or was confused. Don't negotiate or explain. Patricia kept demanding to know my plans. What about the jewelry? What about the house? I stopped answering. My property decisions are not up for discussion, except that some relationships will end. Tyler and Patricia were furious. They stopped speaking to me. That was painful, but it also revealed the truth. They valued my stuff more than me. Spend time with people who value you. I deepened friendships with Margaret, my church community, the kids at Youth Garage. These relationships are based on genuine affection, not financial expectation. Take care of yourself. That spa day was important. I deserve to celebrate my birthday properly. I deserve to feel valued and pampered. Don't feel guilty. Society tells us we should leave our assets to our children. But if those children treat you like an ATM or an inheritance, you owe them nothing. Use your money for causes you believe in. The Youth Garage donation has helped 23 kids learn mechanics. That's a legacy I'm proud of. Much better than funding Tyler's entitlement. The most important lesson: you are a person, not an inheritance. Anyone who treats you otherwise doesn't deserve your assets. For comprehensive resources on estate planning, protecting yourself from family financial exploitation, and setting boundaries with entitled relatives, see the information below. Choose dignity over being treated as an inheritance. Choose people who value you over people who value your stuff. Choose causes you believe in over entitled family members. Because I'm standing here today at 78, healthy and living my best life, only because I refused to be treated like I was already dead. At my 75th birthday party, my grandson told me to think about my finish line and claimed my late husband's car. My daughter claimed all my jewelry. They divided up my possessions while I was alive and sitting right there. I walked out of my own party, sold the car for $85,000. Donated every penny to Detroit Youth Garage. Gave away all my jewelry to people who actually loved me, not my possessions. Changed my will to exclude them almost completely. That was 3 years ago. I'm 78, still healthy, still active, still making my own decisions. Tyler might have genuinely changed, time will tell, but my will stays the same. Because people who value your stuff more than your life don't deserve your stuff. They deserve consequences. And I deserve to live my remaining years surrounded by people who see me as a person, not a bank account. Best birthday gift I ever gave myself was choosing dignity. I'm Diane Carter. I'm 78 years old, and I'm living proof that you're never too old to set boundaries and demand respect. Thank you for listening. If this helps even one person stand up to family members who treat them as an inheritance instead of a person, then sharing my story was worth it.